This weekend, Christopher Bell is going to climb into a race car, strap himself in, and go racing at one of the most physically brutal tracks in all of NASCAR. The Tricky Triangle, Pocono, a place that punishes drivers even when they're perfectly healthy. And Christopher Bell is not going to be healthy. Because just 6 days ago, in one of the hardest crashes the sport has seen in years, Bell broke his wrist. A fractured left wrist, confirmed by x-rays, the kind of injury that, in most jobs, would have you in a cast on the couch for weeks. And yet, this Sunday, he's going to use that same wrist to wrestle a 3,400-pound stock car through 3 of the most demanding corners in motorsport at nearly 200 miles an hour for 400 miles. Now, you might be thinking, why? Why would any driver do that? Why not just sit out, heal up, and come back at full strength? Well, the answer is a story about courage, about what's at stake in his season right now, and about a piece of NASCAR history that suggests something almost unbelievable. Because the last time a driver showed up at Pocono with a fresh, serious injury like this, that driver didn't just survive, he won the whole race. So today, we're going to break down exactly what happened to Christopher Bell, why he's choosing to race hurt, why Pocono of all places makes this so dangerous, and whether history could be about to repeat itself. Stay with me, because this is one of the most compelling stories of the entire season. Welcome back to Freedom Line News, the channel where we don't just chase the drama, we actually break down what really happened. If you're new here, take a quick second to hit that subscribe button, because this community is growing every week, and we cover these NASCAR stories with the detail they truly deserve. All right, let's get into it. So let's start with how we got here, with the crash that broke his wrist. It happened last weekend at Michigan, on lap 148. Christopher Bell was running near the front, fighting for position, doing exactly what a championship contender is supposed to do. And then in an instant, it all went wrong. Racing right beside him, lost control of his car. Elliott's machine bobbled, broke loose, and shot straight up the track, directly into the side of Bell's Toyota. Bell had nowhere to go. The contact sent him hard into the outside wall at tremendous speed. And this is the part that tells you just how violent this was. The impact was so severe that it actually damaged the safer barrier, the energy-absorbing safety wall designed specifically to survive these hits. NASCAR had to stop the entire race and bring out welding equipment to repair the wall, a red flag that lasted around 25 minutes. And afterward, NASCAR's own vice president of racing communications confirmed something chilling. He said it was the hardest hit ever recorded in the next-gen era of these cars. The hardest hit ever in this generation of NASCAR. That's the crash Christopher Bell walked away from. He climbed out of the car under his own power, which was a huge relief to everyone watching. He was taken to the infield care center, evaluated, and released. He didn't speak to the media. He quietly left. And it wasn't until he got home to North Carolina and the x-rays came back that the full picture emerged. A fractured left wrist, the toughest hit of the next-gen era, had left one of the sport's best drivers with a broken bone in the worst possible place for someone who steers a race car for a living. Now, here's where most people would expect the story to end, with Bell sitting out. A broken wrist, the hardest crash in years, a logical reason to rest and recover. But that's not what's happening. After the x-rays confirmed the fracture, Christopher Bell was evaluated by doctors, and he was cleared to race. And his team, Joe Gibbs Racing, confirmed it officially. Bell will be behind the wheel of the number 20 Toyota this Sunday at Pocono. He's not stepping aside. He's not handing the car to a substitute. He's going. And the way Bell handled it publicly tells you a lot about the man. After staying quiet right after the crash, he came out with a message that was full of grace. He thanked everyone who had reached out to check on him, saying he truly felt the love. He thanked his team of doctors, he thanked Joe Gibbs Racing, and he thanked NASCAR. And in a really classy touch, he thanked all the drivers who came before him. The ones who fought and sometimes suffered to push NASCAR's safety standards forward, the reason he could walk away from a hit like that at all. And then he ended it with 3 simple words that said everything about his mindset. See you in Pocono. No hesitation, no doubt, just a competitor telling the world he'll be there, broken wrist and all. But here's what makes this so much more. than just a feel-good toughness story. Of all the tracks on the entire NASCAR calendar where you could be forced to race with a broken wrist, Pocono might be the single worst one. Let me explain why. Pocono is known as the tricky triangle, and it earns that nickname. It's not a normal oval. It's a bizarre three-cornered shape, and every single one of three corners is completely different from the others. One corner is banked steeply, another is nearly flat, a third is somewhere in between. Each one demands a different line, a different braking point, a different technique. Drivers often say Pocono races more like a road course than an oval, because you simply cannot set your car up to be good in all three corners at once. You have to compromise, and that means the driver is constantly working, constantly turning, braking, correcting, and fighting the wheel. Now think about what that means for a man with a fractured wrist. Steering a next-gen car is physically brutal even when you're healthy. These cars are heavy, the steering is demanding, and the forces pulling on a driver's arms through the corners are enormous. At Pocono, with its long straightaways feeding into those three unique high-load corners, the stress on a driver's hands, wrists, and arms is relentless for 400 miles. And there's an open question nobody fully knows the answer to yet. Will Bell race with some kind of brace or support on that wrist? And if he does, how will that affect his ability to feel the car and react? A small loss of grip strength, a moment of pain at the wrong instant, a hand that can't quite hold the line, at 200 miles an hour, any of those things matters. This is going to be one of the most physically punishing days of Christopher Bell's career. And yet, and this is the part that makes this story so fascinating, there is real reason to believe Bell can not only survive this, but actually contend. Because this exact scenario has played out before, at this exact track, with a remarkable ending. Go back to 2011. A driver named Brad Keselowski showed up at Pocono with a broken left ankle, an injury he'd suffered just 4 days earlier in a testing crash at Road Atlanta. He was hurting. He could barely walk. By every reasonable measure, he had no business being competitive. And what did Brad Keselowski do? He won the race. He went out at Pocono, injured, in pain, and beat the entire field. It became one of the most legendary displays of toughness in modern NASCAR history. So when people ask whether Christopher Bell can really compete at Pocono with a broken wrist, seriously, history says yes. It says that a determined driver, with a great team and the right car, can overcome a serious injury at this very track and still find victory lane. And this is part of a bigger truth about NASCAR culture that I think is worth understanding. This sport has always celebrated drivers who push through pain. From the earliest days, the toughest racers were the ones who refused to let injury stop them. It's woven into the DNA of NASCAR. Bell racing hurt isn't reckless. It's part of a long, proud tradition of drivers who simply refuse to give up their seat, and the fans respect nothing more than that kind of grit. Now, there's also a very practical reason. Christopher Bell can't afford to sit this one out, and it comes down to the championship. Bell is right in the thick of the playoff race. He currently sits 10th in the standings. But here's the thing. His season has been a genuine struggle. It's been up and down all year, with 3 DNFs and a string of misfortunes that have cost him finishes he should have had. And that Michigan crash, on top of everything, knocked him down several spots in the standings, from 7th all the way to 10th. Even more striking, Christopher Bell, one of the most talented drivers in the entire sport, is still searching for his first win of the 2026 season. He hasn't won a single race all year. So you can see the bind he's in. Sitting out at Pocono would mean falling even further back, missing valuable points, and handing his rivals an opening at the worst possible time. For a driver fighting to lock in his championship position, every single race matters. 1 to injury could be the difference between a deep playoff run and an early exit. That's why he's racing. Not just because he's tough, but because he genuinely cannot afford not to. And honestly, there might be no more powerful way for Bell to turn his whole season around than to go out at Pocono with a broken wrist and finally grab that first win. The toughest hit of the next-gen era 1 week and a gutsy, injured victory the next. That would be the kind of story that defines a career. So can he actually pull it off? Let me be honest with you, because I always will be. Racing 400 miles at Pocono with a fractured wrist is a massive physical challenge. And there are no guarantees. The pain could wear him down. The wrist could limit him in the corners. A long, grueling race could simply take more out of him than a healthy body could give. That's the real risk. But here's what we know for sure. Christopher Bell has a fast car. He has one of the best teams in the sport behind him. He has the talent to win on any given Sunday. And now he has something extra. The motivation of a driver with everything to prove, racing through pain, with the whole NASCAR world watching to see what he's made of. That combination has produced miracles before. Brad Keselowski proved it at this very track. So while the smart, cautious prediction is simply that Bell gutting out a solid finish this would be an achievement in itself, don't be shocked if this turns into something more. Don't be shocked if and a little bit of Pocono history combine into one of the most memorable performances of the year. Either way, when that green flag drops on Sunday, sport is going to be on the number 20 car and on the toughest wrist in NASCAR. So now I want to hear from you. Do you think Christopher Bell can overcome a broken wrist and actually contend for the win at Pocono? Maybe even pull off a Keselowski-style miracle? Or is racing injured at the tricky triangle just too big an ask? Do you respect drivers who push through pain like this? Or do you think he should have sat out to heal? Drop your thoughts down in the comments, as I read them, and I already know this one is going to spark a debate. If this breakdown was worth your time, do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe to Freedom Line News, where we cover every NASCAR story with the detail it actually deserves. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.